Okay, I'm Matt Angel, and I'm calling this meeting of the Personnel Committee to order. I'm calling it to order as the business administrator because there's been no chairs elected. I'm going to be reading the checklist to make sure we're compliant with the right to know laws. As substitute chair of the Sanborn Regional School Board Personnel Subcommittee, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-4, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there are no physical locations to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I confirm that we are A, providing public access to the meeting by telephone and additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. We are utilizing Zoom for this electronic meeting. All members of the Regional Sanborn School Personnel Subcommittee have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through this platform. And the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in this meeting through dialing the following phone number: 1-646-558-8656. The meeting ID is 944-8349-5346, or by clicking on the following, or by the website address, which is our public stream address, www.youtube.com/C/SRSD meeting videos. D, providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing this meeting, including how to access this meeting using Zoom or telephonically. Instructions have also been provided on the website of the Sanborn Regional School District at www.sau17.net. C, providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are any problems with access. If anyone has problems, please call 603-642-8541 or email at helpdesk@sau17.net. And then D, adjourning this meeting if the public is unable to access this meeting. In the event this public meeting is unavailable to access the meeting, the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start taking the meeting by roll call attendance, with each member stating their presence. Please state whether there's anyone else in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. So I'm going to go in order of the people on my screen. Well, first, Pete Broderick is in the room with me. So I'm going to start with Pete.
I am here. I'm with Matt. My computer doesn't work at home.
Okay. Jim Baker.
Yeah, I'm in an office in my home and I'm alone.
Don Dutton.
I am in a room in my home and I am alone in this room.
All right, so now that the meeting is in order, let's move on to the next item, which is organizational choice of chair.
Point of order, does Diane have to announce?
Oh, I'm sorry, Diana, can you tell me where you are and whether there's someone else in the room?
Yes, I am I'm in my work office and there is no one else in my office.
Okay, well, it looks pretty beautiful from where I'm sitting.
Doesn't it though?
Okay, so let's work on organizational choice of chair. Let's take some nominations.
I nominate Dawn.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Don, if you don't want it, if you really are against it, we can work something out.
It's fine. I don't mind. Whatever you guys want.
Yay, Dawn.
I'll take one for the team.
Okay. So is there any further discussion on this? Okay, so roll call vote. Pete?
Aye.
Jim?
Yes.
Dawn?
Yes. Thanks, guys.
So Dawn, now it's your meeting. Thank you.
Oh, great. Now it's my meeting. Now I got to get back to the agenda.
Okay.
All right, here we go. New item. So district lead stipend position. So that
Okay.
is you, Matt.
Yes, it is. Actually, both of these items are me. So,
Yes.
all right. So this is a personnel change form. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to add a job duty to the high school night custodian. The job duties are to supervise custodial staff for all shifts, especially at the night, when the facility manager and the business administrator, myself, are unavailable to do so. Also, we're trying to streamline the process from location to location, which is important because what we're finding is that in some cases, the custodial closets are different, the carts are different. So there's a lot of training that has to happen when we move employees from building to building, okay? The third one is to train the custodial staff, which is very, very, very important, okay? So what, again, I just want to point out that the most important things are that we're finding inconsistent work setup, okay? That has, it's leading to decreased productivity because a lot of employees, like, for example, we moved some employees from the high school to Memorial School during school vacation, and we had a lot of productivity loss because the custodians didn't know the building. And then also, this person would oversee all the custodial staff in all the buildings, especially at night, and also all the contracted custodial service people, and that's it. Do you have any questions of me?
I do.
Jim, go ahead.
So the purpose of this is to gain efficiencies in the operation, is that right?
That's correct.
How are there custodians getting stipends now?
There is.
Can you explain what the difference is?
All right, so some of this comes into, some of the explanation would be best spoken about in a non-public session, okay? So it's going to be kind of difficult for me to explain it.
Okay.
So really what I'm trying to do is focus more on a district-wide lead.
So it's basically what you're saying, Matt, that they would continue to get paid the same rate of pay they're at right now, and then this would be an additional stipend because they're getting just these things added to their position to take over a wider, or I guess more broad role in making sure everything's managed.
So it'd be one person who would be doing this position.
Because, and so to clarify, so typically during the day, right now, I'm guessing because this person is more for overnight, this would be someone that does kind of what you and our facilities manager do during the day?
Yes.
Okay. Jim?
But Matt, this isn't a new person. This is an existing employee, right?
That's correct.
So how many hours a day are they going to be working?
So what we're going to do is, as part of their job duties, we're going to be making them drive between all the buildings and make sure that the work is being done consistently. And they're going to have to manage inside of they're at the high school. So basically they're going to have to hand off some of their job responsibility to another employee to accomplish while he goes out and monitors all the other buildings.
But this will be during his normal work time, right?
That's correct.
So where does the nighttime come in?
Well, he's already the night supervisor.
Okay.
Okay. And then if we need him to shift his hours, he has the capability of bringing his hours so it crosses over with the day. So he's able to do both day and night shift and hit all the appropriate people. Because we've been trying to focus on training during the middle of the day and work on consistencies. He's definitely the right person to work on all this. efficiency that we're trying to work on.
All right, and what role does the current facilities director have in this?
So basically, it's the same role, but if neither he nor I are there, he would be the one in charge of making sure that it's all being done.
And what kind of block of time do you envision that neither you or Dan would be available when this would have to happen?
Well, their night shift ends around 10 o'clock.
Okay.
So when I was doing a lot of the duties that Dan is doing, I would be answering the phone call all the way up until past 10 o'clock at night. So basically what we're doing is we're putting a person that's right there on site with the authority to act in our behalf.
I think what we're trying to do, and the way I look at it, is Dan will be the manager,
Yes.
all right? So Dan will be that's what I used to do. But back before I taught, I was a facilities manager. And I had any number of supervisors under me. One of them was, of course, the custodial supervisor. So Dan would be the manager, and he would take care of planning, organizing, staffing, budgeting, all that stuff. And then the supervisor would be responsible for the actual day-to-day cleaning and taking care of that. Dan may, and I don't know how he set up his organization, take care of the maintenance people separately. I hate to say a million years ago, I had a maintenance supervisor, I had a custodial supervisor, and I would pretty much deal with just those supervisors. The supervisor would deal with, the day-to-day worker people. So you're really, the way I look at it, you're looking at an organizational change to go actually more business-like and setting it up a situation. Dan's the manager, he manages the department, but he doesn't supervise the department. He hires supervisors to take care of that. He's overall responsible, but he doesn't get into the weeds of fixing this boiler or sweeping that floor.
Diana has her hand raised.
Diana.
Can I speak?
Yes, please.
I wasn't sure what the protocol was because I'm not officially on the committee. So I just wanted to mention that right now, the person who is in this role, he is the night supervisor, but he's the night supervisor at the high school. So if something goes on at 7 o'clock at night over at Bakey or Memorial, there's no one of authority for that person, that other custodian at the other building to go to, other than calling Matt or Dan Doyle. So this would give this person much more supervisory responsibilities than he has right now. And that would streamline the other schools so that when there is an issue, they can go directly to this person and take care of an issue before it's escalated on up to Matt or Dan.
That's very, very important. A number of years ago on a Sunday, the school was open. I was curious what it was because there were all these cars there and I knew nothing about it. And I am on the school board. So I went in and what was going on doesn't matter. I said, who's in charge? There was nobody in charge. There were custodians there, but nobody who had accountability, I want to call it, not just responsibility, but accountability. If something went wrong, who do we say, you're the responsible person here? And we have to have that. So at night, I taught at the school, as you all know, the custodians were pretty much, one custodian would do this, another custodian would do that, and one of the things I'm gonna offer, Dan, is I was a facilities manager. If you want to tap me for some help, fine. If not, that's okay, it's your store. But when I first came in, I couldn't believe how helter-skelter, and even now, kind of, because there's no responsibility, no accountability. And I think we need that. So I am looking at this as a positive thing.
Jim.
Yeah, I'm all for efficiencies and streamlining management. I'm just trying to get my head around. We're paying a facilities director who I assume was had this responsibility. Somebody had it. There's custodians getting stipends at each school. So I would assume that the stipend person at each school had the responsibility for that school. And now we're putting somebody in the middle between them who's going to have overall responsibility. I'm just trying to see how this is better. I can see how it's going to be easier on, remove a burden from certain people. But in terms of the efficiency, especially from a cost point of view, how does that work? I mean, are the custodians going to get the same stipends that they'd be getting, and is Dan going to get the same pay, or is there some offset being done here?
We're rethinking how we're doing the staffing. Okay.
Okay.
And that is not an answer I can do in public session.
Okay.
Jim, here's the problem that I saw when I was there. You've got this lead person who's also got the responsibility of sweeping floors and taking care of a section. And he's not really a supervisor. So there's nobody to go in and say, okay, yes, this floor has been swept. The trash has been put. There's nobody in that authority position. They're just a lead person, right? So they're so busy doing their own work. There's nobody really, I mean, when I came into my classroom and in the morning and the pens were still on the floor from the night before, I kind of had to say, what the heck is going on here? Now, maybe the lead person who, actually, I don't even think they were ever charged with supervision. So they were kind of like first amongst equals, but didn't really have the authority. They were a lead person, more like, hey, if there's a problem, this is your guy you go to and say, hey, how do I solve this problem? But not anybody who said, this isn't up to snuff, or you should have done this, or you should have done, let me show you how to do this, or let me train you how to do that. There's really nobody there for that.
So is that a situation where a job description needs to be adjusted, or do we need another person? I'd like to talk this stuff out further, just so I'm fully aware of all of the parts of it. It sounds like there's more here than we can talk about.
Yeah, so, and actually that's going to be a good segue into the next topic, which is a personnel plan, which we need a formal document outlining all the people in the district and kind of give this committee and the school board what our thoughts are on staffing. And so basically everything, you'll get it.
I think Diana had her hand up a couple times. No, that's okay.
So I just wanted to say, you're right. There is more that we would need to discuss privately. And I think that would better, I think you'd better understand where we're coming from. But with that said, we only have one other lead custodian. We don't have a lead at Memorial. And the night supervisor who's at the high school covers the high school and the middle school. So there is not a lead over at Memorial. Bakey's a big school now with all those little ones. So we found at one point it necessary to have a lead over there just because they've increased their population so much. But again, I think in a non-public, we could explain a little more.
That'd be great.
I think there's one thing that I would also like to add. When Steve Riley
hold on, Pete, hold on a second. Okay, Jim, are you done or did you have something else?
I just wanted to say to Matt that I think that's a great idea to, when you started the capital improvements plan, you listed everything from nuts to bolts that needed to be addressed for the schools. And we're working on that now. I think something comparable, a complete inventory of all the positions is a great place to start.
Pete,
Yeah, when Steve was here, Steve was born and bred Sanborn. You know, he grew up here, he went to school here, he was on 24-hour notice, 7 days a week, anything. And that's a good thing. But there's also a downside to it, and that is you become used to that and you depend on that. We're trying to move this into a professional organization almost. You know, we have the same problem with other people in town that have been in their positions for years. When I was on the Board of Selectmen, we still got them. Whatever you need, I'm gonna do it, this is fine. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, that's a good thing. But it does, when that person leaves, show some deficiencies because they automatically did these things. I think what's coming to head now is we see the deficiency because we don't have that 24-hour day, born, bred, Sanborn, anything you want, I'm gonna be there. And this is coming to light. And I think it's time we moved into a more professional organization system.
Jim,
I'm all for professional. Administrative jobs come with sometimes you have to work day and night. It's just the way it is in any organization. And I know that Matt and Diane have done that, and they know that, and Pete and Dawn know that as well. So I'm just looking for the whole picture before I'm asked to make up my mind on something.
so does it make sense? I guess I just need a direction on which way we should go. Does it make sense to have a non-public conversation so we can get a little deeper into this? Or do we want to move ahead? I guess that's the question here.
Well, I'm gonna suggest we move ahead because we're gonna have to bring it to the board where whatever we discuss now is gonna probably be discussed then. It's up to you. Efficiency wise, you know, whatever questions we have are gonna come then. But whatever you wanna do is fine with me.
Yeah,
Jim,
I think that this has to come to the board as well, and we should do the non-public with them.
okay, all right. So take a vote now, get more information, and then we can bring it to the board as a whole. Is that
And Matt will give an actual presentation, yeah. Or somebody will.
is that how you'd like to go, Jim?
Do you want to vote before you know the whole picture?
No, just whether or not it should be brought to the board.
Oh, I see.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I'll make a motion that we bring this to the board
Okay,
I'll second it.
okay.
in a
All right.
non-public.
And then roll call vote. So Pete,
Yep,
Jim,
Yes,
and myself, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right. And then, all right, discussion of position tracking and approval. So that goes right into what we were all just talking about.
Yeah, so basically what we're trying to do is actually I've got notes up here on my screen, so I'm reading from this. So basically I'm excited about doing this. In other organizations that I've been with, they've had a ministerial process of approving and reporting positions within their organization. I see two key points by implementing this process. The first is we're going to be more transparent to the school board and to taxpayers. And second, this document will become the starting point for the budget process. Unfortunately, I don't find a school board policy that governs the approval of positions within the school district, especially the formal reporting of an authorized position, okay? So really what I want to do is ask this committee to start talking about what they would like to see in a personnel plan, what they would like to see about position requests that come before this committee, like the one that we just did, and then also what do you want to do for an approval process? Because really, what I was thinking is we would have a formal document, and if we make a change from that formal document, we would bring it to this committee for approval. Okay.
Okay, so Jim,
yeah. So in school board meetings, when we have nominations, sometimes we'll have information ahead of time about the nominees and the whole board votes on them. Sometimes we just get a list read to us of the nominees. So are you proposing a more detailed information about nominees? Or are you talking about when you add a particular, when you want to propose adding a position or changing a position?
Just positions.
Okay,
So basically, when you nominate people, you're nominating them into a position. So there's no formal document that shows all the positions through the district. I mean, we have some, but they're not, I don't think it hasn't been run through like a committee level analysis, okay?
I think that part's a great idea.
Yes.
Right. So, and then I would use it as the beginning point for budgeting, okay? I would take the listing of all the people, and then that, I can just assign the dollar value to it and then put it into the budget document.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's like 85% of the budget.
Right. Yeah, I
Okay.
think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
All right. So my problem with it is for number one, I don't find any board policy on this. Okay. Number two, like, what do you want to see in the report? Because what I've seen before is you see position, you see well, you can do like a quick job description, as Pete just said. There would be an FTE or full-time equivalency, okay? And then if we're gonna make a change from that, there'll be a column for like what we're changing. And then, so you'll have a total at the end of the day after we make a vote on making a change of the plan, okay? So like, for example, when we're doing this stipend here, and this leads into another question. Do you want to have stipends come before the committee and included in the personnel plan? Okay, I don't have any problems doing that. It's just what level of detail do you want to deal with? Before I give this up,
Hold on, Pete.
there are some federal grants that we do where we give out like a small dollar stipend for teachers to attend certain workshops, okay? So do we want to throw those before this committee? I would almost recommend that we don't. So it's kind of like, what is the threshold that are you interested in, and what is the threshold that you're not interested in? Okay.
Pete.
Okay, I'm looking at two things. One, these positions are going to be, I'm going to call it global. A teacher is, that's almost a little lower than I'm envisioning this more as the administration to be more detailed than teacher. And I think the stipends for me to go to a workshop, they're so fluid every year. I mean, this year there might be one for science and microscopes, and then next year it'll be science for genetics, and the next year it'll be science, and then the English. So that is so fluid and so almost micromanaging. I would kind of stay away from that, because you don't know what next year's stipends are going to be, what the federal government's going to kick in, and what we have to kick in. A general amount of money, I think that's how we have now. That'd be one thing. I would like to see something concrete. All right, so I'm going to suggest we task you with kind of giving us what your ideas are,
Okay.
and then we can address or not address, change, adjust, whatever. Because to sit here and talk about it now, great idea, but what are you talking about?
Okay. I can probably have a report to this committee for the next meeting if we can do this next month.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Jim. Nope.
Yeah.
Diana, you're
Diane,
next.
you want to go ahead?
Oh, all I wanted to say was we do have processes and procedures in place. They're just not concrete. So we just don't decide like arbitrarily, oh, let's add this new position. I have a form that is signed off on. New positions, I believe, are brought before the board. On my form, I record when they've been approved by the board. So we do have those procedures in place. We just don't have a formal plan that outlines all those procedures. And Matt and I've talked a lot about this, and we both think it's a great idea to put something in place so that everyone can see just how these decisions are approved, and everyone knows, the positions we have and how they came about.
Sounds good to me.
Me too.
And I think, yeah, the level of involvement of the committee on these things could be, just sort of an overlook or a pass through of some kind. But I think that for this committee, for finance, and also for the budgeting process, the idea of having a form that lists every position and the compensation, including stipends. I mean, some of the stipends are negotiated in the collective bargaining agreements.
Mm-hmm.
So there's all these different moving parts, like Diane was saying. But to have it all on one form in terms of a snapshot of existing, where it is in a particular time, like an appraisal, it tells you what you have at that moment. That would be a great tool.
Oh, I just want to clarify one thing. It's not going to be necessarily, it's going to be a living document. So
Right.
it's not necessarily
Yeah,
a
for sure.
snapshot. So it's going to be like, we're going to start on this and then we're going to move forward and make changes to it. So
Right. It's a snapshot as of the day it's up to date till, too.
yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. That's all I have.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah. So Matt, I completely agree. I think if you could put something together for us, I think that
Yep.
would be fabulous. Because like I said, we could sit here and talk about it all day, but it'd be easier if you just put together what your thoughts are. So considering you've seen a bunch of them in the past, and then we can kind of use that as a starting point.
Cool.
And then, yeah, I think we definitely need to, when it comes to stipends, I don't know, like Pete said, I don't know that we need to have all the stipends that come from grant money when teachers go to workshops. I don't know that those need to come across our desk. I mean, those are
Okay.
things that have been done. There are grants that are paying for them. I don't know, maybe if there's maybe we put a cap on it. Like if there's an exorbitant number, it needs to maybe just be brought to our attention. But I mean, other than that, if it's being funded by grants, I don't know that we really need to see a ton of that. Pete?
Yeah, I envision it kind of like staff development, it'd be aligned staff development with a total amount of money.
Absolutely.
And like there's another line in there for college. Now, let's assume it's $6,000 and we have another person say, I'd like to go. Well, sorry, the budget line's already tapped out. So it would be with stipends. Just because you have the money in there, maybe not everybody wants to go to stipend. You might have some money left over. On the other hand, maybe everybody says, yeah, I'd like it, and it maxes out. But to have $600 for this stipend, $500 for that, and those stipends go away and come every year. So just a flat line item stipend, and we know that's what we're going to pay for stipends. And gee, we'd like to give more, but sorry, you came too late, So I think a total amount would make it so much easier for us.
Okay.
Diana?
Yeah, and I think a lot of the stipends that you're talking about, Pete, those are dictated by the CBA. There are dollar amounts in there, and
Right.
We'll definitely create a personnel plan. I think we're talking more of a stipend that affects the salary, not a workshop.
Right. Yeah,
So,
but a total amount,
right,
and then we know, because what I have found is stipends are static. And 20 years later, I remember when I first started teaching here, we got $100 for a staff development day. I think when I retired 20 years later, it was still $100 for staff development day, so they become static. And that really shouldn't necessarily be. I mean, I'm guessing today it's might be 150? So in 30 years,
300.
it's 150?
300.
How much? I should have stayed teaching. Yeah,
So, all right, so Matt, you don't need a motion on this. We're
No.
good, right?
Yep. I
Okay,
know what you need.
okay, perfect.
Thank you very
Um,
much, everyone.
All right, and I think that was it, right?
yeah.
Yeah, there's no public comment because we're not public. So, all right,
Make a motion to adjourn?
absolutely. I just wanted
No,
to
need
check with
one.
Diana, make sure she was good.
I'm good. Thank
All
Her
you.
hand
right.
wasn't up.
What?
Her hand wasn't up.
I was just double checking to make sure I didn't cut her off. All right, meeting is adjourned.